We're done. Also, I will also mention if anybody wants to stay on after this to ask any questions, I have availability to do so. So feel free to stick around if you have any questions about Diamond, because this tomorrow is our last test drive activity. So I just want to make sure that people have an opportunity to get any of their questions answered before the test drive is over. So, all right, Miss Tamira, you got the floor, my friend.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I heard so many great things with the icebreaker question. And in the interest of time, I'm going to really just try and knock this out in 15 minutes so we can, get some celebrations and things like that in because it's a very important part of this meeting for me to hear you guys winning. So I've been talking about community is the new brand since 2018. Okay. Because community has become increasingly important. It was always important, but it has grown in importance as technology has advanced, right? So there are people who don't trust AI, who have their feelings about AI and the environment. And there are those of us who use AI and we know it's all going to work out in the end because that's just our mindset. But the reality is, right now, there is a proliferation of AI slop in the feed. Okay. At the same time, there's what some refer to as a trust deficit, meaning people don't trust. And then there are those who believe what I believe, that it's not necessarily a trust deficit, there's a competence deficit. There are people who have eroded trust by stepping into things that were outside of their lane instead of referring them. And there have been people who have done some really, I can name, I mean, RICO charges have been dropped on people who have just done some really, really bad things. Now, I think also there are consumers who need to take some accountability because the red flags were there, girl. But they just heard the flashy things and they ran after those. When I First of all, let me back up because I don't know that we really went into the whole Tamira spiel, 3 decades plus of sales, marketing, and leadership experience. I have the 34-year-old daughter who was sitting in this very chair that I'm sitting in yesterday, and I'm just looking in amazement, like, wow, I really did that. Like 34 whole years ago, I birthed this human who gave me the two most beautiful grandchildren in the world. And when I left corporate America, part of one of the things I struggled with in corporate America in various positions, in various jobs, in various companies, as I don't know if you noticed or not, but I do happen to be a Black woman. Okay. I mean, I know that sometimes it's shocking, right, Elaine? And one of the things I often struggled with was community, finding those people that I could actually show up, be myself with, have real conversations with, and have the trust there that it would not go any further, that there was no judgment. Now, again, growing up in a Black family, a lot of my community growing up was my family. And that can be both good and bad. Normally, I say it's not good or bad, it just is. No, it can be good or bad, right? Because sometimes you need that community outside of your family, just like sometimes companies need to hire outside of the groupthink that they currently have. And so, with that said, one of the first things I did when I came online to build a business was build community. Out of necessity, I had to build community. I had a whole framework that began with content that generated conversations. And from those conversations, you went into my community, and you went into my community in a category. And that category was either you were going to be a customer or you were going to be a member of my team. Okay. Because that's the type of business I was building at the time. And so over the years, that framework has continued to evolve. And I'm going to tell you some of the things I think of when I think of the word community. First off, when it comes to Polkadot, as a community, specifically after the very first meeting. I posted an image with a quote from Felicia Rashad, who played Claire Huxtable. And the quote is, anytime women come together with a collective intention, it's a powerful thing. Whether it's sitting down, making a quilt, in a kitchen, preparing a meal, in a club reading the same book, or around the table playing cards, or planning a birthday party, when women come together with a collective intention, magic happens. I remember the first time I heard that and it gave me chills. And it just, when I went to that polka dot meeting, that's what I walked away feeling. Okay. And how that has helped me to evolve this framework that I have is to really hone in on what community means, because I heard a lot of things from all of you, and I want you to know every single one of you is correct, because it's about, what does community mean to you? Okay. When it comes to your business, it's very important that your business creates content that stimulates connection, right? Because one of the biggest faux pas we make as marketers and business owners online is we assume that our audience, that first of all, our followers, all of our followers is our audience, and that all of our audience is our community, and therefore all of them should be customers. And I could not, I just got to tell you, slow down, boo boo. It's not quite like that, right? But you are going, it's really truly like a funnel, and you're just whittling it down, right? So connection is how you pull them in, okay? You've got to be committed to building community, right? And as a business owner, you're not just building community on this side of things, your for example, polka dot and diamond, right? Because when you look at polka dot powerhouse, that's a big community. And then when you whittle it down to diamond or your chapter specific, you've got a really well defined community that really strengthens and tightens and locks that connection in, not only to the organization, to the cause, to the brand, to the company, but for you personally. The connections go a lot deeper and are a lot stronger when you really start to form these more tighter knit communities within the larger community. Now, we're not talking about clicks. That's different. We're not talking about clicks, okay? Your content also should create conversation. Through that connection, you want to create conversation, because that's how you become. And I should have actually led with this. One of my Tamira isms is, you are the brand, you are the content, you are the algorithm, right? And so just to back up a little bit, if you are the brand and community is the new brand, what does that make you? Let me know in the chat. What does that make you? If community is the new brand and you are the brand, what does that make you? You are the community. You are the heart center. You are the core of the community. You are a community builder. You can be a community healer. There are community healers on this call right now. Don't make me call you out, right? Some of you are here to heal. Some of you are here to build. The connector, yes, you are all of those things, right? And so you want to have conversation that is relevant to that connection and that community, right? And this is where we get, I heard someone talk about trends, and Michelle Greening about, because I've been on that pedestal for a while. Please stop focusing on trends unless you can make them relate to the connection, the conversation, and commitment of your specific ideal client, right? And so when it comes to building your business, it's not just being a part of organizations and communities like Polka Dot Powerhouse. What are the communities that your ideal client is hanging out at? And how can you be a part of those communities wholeheartedly, authentically, without showing up being really sleazy and spammy? Sell, 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 join my product, buy my product, buy my product, be my client, right? You've got to show up in those communities to contribute. Servant, servant leadership, stewardship is where you, when I think of community, I also think of those things. It's a byproduct, right? If you want to be a valued member of the community, you can't just show up and take. And we've seen that here with Diamond, Suzanne, Sammy, Who else? I can't see everybody right now, but we've got Diamond members who came and said, "Hey, I want to give to this community, and I'm willing to give an hour of my time on this Monday or this Tuesday or this Wednesday of each and every month because I see the need and I am here to help the community heal with respect to this." Okay. Collaboration and contribution. How do you show up in the community with a spirit of collaboration and not just with your peers? And remember, you want to be in rooms where you're not the smartest person in the room. You need to be in some rooms where you're reaching up, right? And also, how do you collaborate with your own community for your business that your business builds? I'm not telling everyone to go out and build a school community, right? Not everyone is really equipped to build, handle, and manage their own community, speaking like Facebook group as an example. Some of you are going to be better suited to have 5 to 10 communities that you show up in regularly and consistently. You show up as a leader, you show up as a steward, you show up as a contributor, and you're just there to serve. And I promise you, the magic is going to happen. Who here believes that the more you give, the more that you receive, right? Now, that doesn't mean you go and give the whole kit and caboodle away for free, but you show up and you authentically, from your heart's core, you give and you serve. Okay. I give and I serve a lot in ways that I don't think people really understood that when I show up and I, give advice and I let you know what I can do, I'm really serving. That's really kind of pro bono work for me. That's me showing up and giving to the community that has given me so much because as introverted as I am, when the world shut down about a month later and my daughter was pregnant with my second grandchild and I couldn't see the grandson that was here, and as much as I was introverted, but I couldn't even go outside and just go to the grocery store or just go hang out and be anonymous at the coffee shop by myself, I was able to get on those positivity calls and I was able to receive and be a part of something much larger than myself because that's truly what people are looking for. How to be a part of something much larger than themselves. Okay. There's something I could say on that, but I'm going to keep that one to myself. Okay. And it's where you not only go and celebrate, but you are celebrated, right? Go where you are celebrated, not where you are tolerated. And that comes back full circle to the family comment. That family being your soul community is actually very dangerous ground because it can be both bad or good. And often your family will be the last ones to celebrate you when you are really breaking quote unquote generational curses and walking a path that has not been walked before, they can be some of your biggest antagonists, aka where I'm from, haters, right? And so you have to find that community and be a part of that community. For me, Diamond has done that. Polka Dot Powerhouse has done that. The Milwaukee chapter has done that. Being a part of various network marketing organizations actually did that for me. Because here's what I want you to walk away. When your ideal client, when you build that community, couple examples. Number one, when I worked in banking and the worst, depending on the branch you were in, the worst day to work was on a Friday that happened to be the first and the third because of the way the banking holidays felt. And if it was Friday, like July 3rd, or the third fell on Sunday, and it was Friday, July 1st, it was absolute mayhem. And people would come in, they were in a rush, they were focused on where they had to go, and they weren't anticipating that everybody else got paid that day and were there to either withdraw or make a deposit or whatever business they had to conduct that day because people like to tend to carry cash around the holidays. And they always ran us very, very lean. So all it would take was for one person to be on maternity and then another person to call in sick, and it was a hot mess. And before I could even go out and address people and help them see what was going on, our go-to clients who were in there every day when it was much slower and stopped and had conversations and really got to know us, they handled that. They shut it all the way down. Like, look. And that gave me more spitfire to actually just be able to say to people, well, I'm sorry, but you just weren't the only person that got paid today. And they would stop and look at me like I was crazy. But that is the byproduct of building community. They will go to bat for you and say things about you that you can't say about yourself. The other thing I want you to understand is there was a network marketing organization that I should have left 12 to 18 months before I did, but I didn't because of the community, because of the relationships and the people that were there. So often, when people are a part of a community, it tends to increase their customer life cycle with you. One of the first wearables was Nike Fuel Band, and I had to return that thing like 3 different times. But I would never say anything bad about Nike and just return it because I was a Nike diehard. And that's what you're looking to create with community. I'm going to finish with this. Never has the call for community been greater than it is right now. I can give you a myriad of reasons on why people are looking to be part of something that is larger than themselves. They are literally walking around, as my friend says, looking with their umbilical cord in their hand, looking for somewhere to plug it in. And it's really, really increasing right now. A lot of it has to do with the algorithms going from social discovery to algorithmic discovery, being interest focused, AI, and the social political environment is all I will say. People are looking to be a part of something bigger than themselves where they feel seen, heard, and acknowledged. And it's up to you to find those spaces, show up in them, and if you are up to the task, to create those. So I got a couple minutes and we can answer some questions and then hand it back over to Elaine. But I just want you to understand if you sign up for Polkadot, you are going to be a part of something that is bigger than yourself, where you not only show up and contribute, but so much is also going to be poured into you. Because this is one of the top questions that I get when people ask me, is diamond worth it? And it absolutely is worth it because of the community. When you walk in the celebration the very first time and you've not been there, you're going to be amazed at the people who walk up to you and hug you and say, hey, and they know your name and they truly know who you are just from being, I'm getting emotional, just from being on these Zooms and showing up on them regularly and consistently. And that's from Shannon all the way down. This last celebration, shamefully, was my very first celebration. And I still almost didn't make it because my baby daddy decided to die. Like the nerve, right? And so in my family, when the emotional stakes are high, it's a lot for me. And I tend to end up being the one to I tend to be everybody's punching bag. I'm retraining them that that is not my role. That is not what I am here to do. And so, you know, in that process, they gotta cross the line and get bit to find out. So I walk into celebration just ready to crumble. Not because I was going to miss him, but because of the dynamic and things that were happening in the family. And the first person I saw was Shauna Stanley, and she opened her arms and hugged me so deep. And then I walked in, and then there was, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? She's my girl. I love her to death. The blonde girl, the crazy girl, the woo woo woo. You know who I'm talking about, Elaine?
Lori.
Lori, yes,
Lori
Lori.
Galling.
Lori Galling gave me a hug. And then I get further in, and then there is Shannon, arms wide open. And it just made me feel better. And it let me know that I was in the right place. Because, yes, I do a lot of business with polka dots. Yes, I am on leadership, but again, polka dot helped me when I didn't even know that I needed that kind of help. So, what questions do you have that I can answer?
All right. If anybody has any questions for Tamira, feel free to raise your hand. That will help us see you because we have two screens here. No question. Oh, Michelle, yay!
Yeah, maybe not so much necessarily a question, but a comment that is making me think deeper on my stance. So, Tamira, you were talking about like the trust erosion, the trust recession. I'm definitely someone who was like talking about this idea that we're in a trust recession, but I love how you also took it a step further to remind us that there is a level of accountability on the consumer to have the competence and the discernment of whether or not they believe that. Like, trust is a two-way street. And so I appreciate you challenging that trust recession that I've really latched onto that and have talked about it a lot. But this is another layer for me to go even deeper. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that
Yeah,
perspective.
like what did we learn? Like, are we, because sometimes I look at how people jump on these things, like how everybody just, what do we call it, unsubscribed or whatever from ChatGPT and ran to Claude. Like, can we slow down just a little bit, have a little more discernment? And not just do it
Yeah.
because everybody else is doing it, because right now we love to make it, something bigger than what it is, meaning, heartfelt or movement led and emotionally led and all of these, when it's like just slow your roll just a little bit, let it pan out and see what
Mhm,
happens. Now that's 52 years of life talking, because when I was younger I was definitely,
mhm.
a lot more emotionally driven, but I like to think that at some point my emotional intelligence increased.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing that right now. So, I've really been enjoying hanging out a little bit more on Threads lately. And by the way, the comments there are women looking for community on Threads, and I'm up in the comments going, "Where are you? Let's find you a Polkadot chapter." It's been actually very cool. However, I'm also seeing now everybody's trying to leave all things Google. They're very upset at Google right now, and everybody's trying to leave Google. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not just gonna bail because it's the trend, right? And
Right.
so I think everybody, and I love that we're having this conversation because I think it's really super important that just because everybody else is doing it, as my mom would say, just because she's wearing makeup doesn't mean you have to wear makeup. Don't even get me started, right? But like, the trend doesn't mean you have to follow the trend in order to be, because the reality is, if it's not in alignment for you, if that trend is not in alignment for you, when the trend is over, where are you going to be? Then what? So it's like, is it in alignment for me? No. I'm going to stay doing what I'm doing because that's what's in alignment for me. I'm not going to go jump on a bandwagon because it's the thing that we have to do right now. And I see a lot of business owners thinking that, oh, well, everybody has a membership, so I have to have a membership too.
Oh my God, all the $27 and $33 school memberships.
It's not
It's-
necessarily that
Yeah,
it's a bad thing, but is it in alignment for you? Because what they
right.
see is, well, this person has 27,000 people in their membership all paying $10. Well, damn, that's $27,000 a month.
Mhm.
Just be like, also,
But
how
they don't
long
have
did
the
it take them to
community.
get
They don't have the
there?
community for $10.
Right,
They don't have the
right.
community to price at $10.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that that this conversation is happening because I think it's really super important. And I also think it's important for the consistency, the visibility, but also bandwidth, I think is also really important. And when we go and we jump into all of the things, but then we don't actually have the bandwidth to even participate or to show up or whatever, are you doing yourself a disservice? You
Mhm.
know, are you doing because do you know how many times I've had a Facebook group and then I just forget about it, and it's been probably 2 years since I posted in my Facebook group? Yeah, you got to have bandwidth. Just again, it was a popular thing to do. Everybody had to have a Facebook group. I don't know why, but we did. And now I'm like, oh, sorry, it's in the graveyard, you know?
And
So,
that's why my framework was one group instead of separating them.
Yeah.
in the two different groups because they could go back and forth between whether they wanted to be a customer or a team member or be both. But it
Hmm.
allowed me to just focus on one group and warm up my cold market and make them
Hmm.
more warm and even hot. And again, let the community do a lot of that warming up for me through their excitement. Penny?
I don't know if I can form this in much of an articulate question, but I'm wondering what you think about when something you were talking about made me think about how, when you talk about everybody jumping on the bandwagon of doing the same thing, but there's also an element of if you don't think the way I think, then we can't be in community together anymore.
Mm.
You can't be a part of my circle. And that breaks my heart because I feel like that's dividing us instead of building community. And I'm wondering how you address that and how important that is to you, or is that like, okay, cool, that's a good way to build community because now you only build the people that are like you around you. And I just feel like there's this really divisive part of our
Yeah.
culture right now.
I'm not a fan of divisiveness. I'm not a fan of echo chambers. I'm not a big fan of creating echo chambers like at all. Very
Say
much.
what that is. What does that mean?
So the echo chambers where groupthink takes over and everyone is thinking the same. I'm a big fan of
Okay.
diversity, right? A big fan of, I've always lived a very diverse life and had a diverse family and diverse group of friends. So I know the value in living that lifestyle. Okay. With that said, however, if I am always open to everyone, if I am always marketing to everyone, number one, I'm not marketing to anyone. Okay. There's also the call that comes from inside the house to have boundaries. For me, a core boundary is humanity. If what your ideology is impedes on my humanity or someone else's humanity, erodes it, diminishes it, ignores it, pretends that it is not there, that's where I draw the line. And no, you cannot be in my space if if that feels like an imminent threat to me or to other people. That is my number one, and Brene Brown says it much more succinctly and clearly than I do, and I know I shared it to my feed earlier this week. That is my line in the sand.
Hmm.
Other than that, and there are still people that I don't agree with on a lot of other things, but I'm still able to look through and see the humanity in them. And I know that they don't agree with everything that I stand for, and they're still able to see the humanity in me,
Right.
and we're okay. We're
Hmm.
okay. And we're able to have the emotional, intelligent led adult conversations around that. As a business owner, I don't care if you gave me all the money in the world. If you cross that boundary, you're out of here. You're gone,
Hmm.
right? If you harm children, if you harm women, if you joke about it, I don't play. No, I do not care. I will refund you and send you on your way because you know what? I know that there's a much larger community out there of people who think what I think and believe what I think when it comes to humanity. Does that help?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. This has been a super great discussion. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Um,
Dehumanizing is the word I think I meant. If
yeah,
you dehumanize people, I just no.
yeah. So, I just want to thank everybody for being here today. Like I mentioned, if